Hey everyone, so my name is Ahmed and welcome to Lunaster Studios again. And I know it's been like around a year published my last videos or podcasts, and I know I was really inconsistent about my videos on my YouTube channels, but yeah, I have promised a lot of things, but I was busy. But now I should have time and I will do stuff that actually matters. So, what's today's agenda is basically I'm starting a new course in my YouTube channel, and it's also going to be published on my Facebook page. If you're not following, the link is in the description. So, you can just follow in my Facebook page, whichever you prefer. Um, so this course is basically programming language for non-CS people. So as you might know that I might have said in my one of the videos that I'm a computer science major, but I know that there are tons of majors where you need to work with programming or other technologies, but you don't really have the background or necessary knowledge for the computer science or learning programming language or doing programming things. And now you don't necessarily need to learn everything to do everything. I mean, yeah, you might have some assignments or you might have to do a project that requires programming, and maybe that requires you the extensive knowledge of programming, but you are not a CS major. That makes it like a bit harder for you to do stuff on that. So now if you're just starting on a like beginner's course, intermediate, advanced courses just to complete one project, that's kind of like a waste of time. I mean, it's good for you, but if you're not willing to work on this forever, I mean, it's kind of waste of time. So here I'm trying to make it like congested, concise, and precise thing, like what you should know, and in terms of like what you just need to go with it. The most common language people use to do stuff is Python. So I'm gonna be teaching you Python for this, but this is a general purpose series, so I'm not going to be like focusing on only on Python or just Python libraries and things. Like this is going to be like tips and tricks, not just tips and tricks, the technologies you should use, you can use, and the general things, CS topics that non-CS might use. So I'll be trying to give you a general rundown that you might need when you're working with a project. So this one is basically working with Python. So we're just getting started with Python. So first things first, you need to have Python set up in your computer, obviously. So you can just download Python from python.org, python.org/downloads. Just go ahead and click on this pretty download button, and just like installing anything else, you can just download it right there from there. Okay. I mean, it's a pretty simple task, and you can just do it, I know. Then you need a code editor. Now you have quite a lot of options for that. There are PyCharm. It's from JetBrains that you can use it. You can use your student account if you like, and they'll give you like free version. Or you can use the Visual Studio Code, which is entirely free. You go to the download page and you can just click on this Windows account. If it's Windows, if you're using Mac, go for this, and if you're using Linux, go for that. So for this particular tutorial, I'm not going to work with the fancy IDE like PyCharm or the code. I'm going to use the Visual Studio Code. Now, quick talk, like before we even dive into it, like now, if you have never wrote a single line of code before, you might be wondering, what is PyCharm, what is Visual Studio Code, and what's the difference, and why you're not using one or another. Now, simply speaking, IDE is basically integrated development environment, which means it gives you an environment with pre-built or pre-installed things that will make your development journey a bit smoother. And a text editor, on the other hand, like Visual Studio Code, will allow you to edit a text basically. So in this case, the programming language we're using, like Python, is also a bunch of texts. So we are editing Python text as a text. So but it's not coming with a tons of things installed or pre-installed. So we're just going to be installing the base Visual Studio Code, and we'll install it by as we go, what we need and things like that. That's the main reason why I chose Visual Studio Code. But if you really want to, you can choose PyCharm. That's pretty much it. I mean, just you can use it. It's kind of fun. I sometimes like the syntax, and I like to sometimes look into different topics, such as and looking at the try to I like sometimes looking at different IDEs and things. I just like to try it. As there's a recent project I was working on CLion, which is an IDE by JetBrains as well, but it's for C++. So I'll show you how an IDE looks. So yeah, this is my recent projects. Oh, it's removed from my folder. My bad. I'll just open it. It's somewhere in the project. Yeah, this one. Select folder, trust project. Yeah, this is how IDE looks. Basically, that's how it looks. I'll just open a file so you can just see how that thing it's loading. Anytime sooner you should see the code here. So yeah, this is how typically an IDE looks. This is CLion for C++. If anyone is learning C++, or I'll post a video on C++, then you can use CLion. I'll be using Visual Studio Code for that as well. So whoever is following this tutorial or this series will have easy to work with it. So now that I have this thing, I'll just open a new folder here, and these are my projects. I'll just create a new folder here, and I'll name it like you. This is really an unprepared video recording I'm doing. That's why nothing is there ready and good to go. I'm just speaking raw, and whatever is coming on my mind, I'm just saying it. I feel like that's how if you just teach, people can relate to you more like that. So when you install Visual Studio Code, you should have something like this. This should be your syntax. Sorry, not syntax. It should be something like your interface. All you need to run Visual Studio Code in Python, all you need to run Python in Visual Studio Code, you need to have installed Python. So if you search Python in the this icon, which is basically extension, you should see all these things. So install the second one, which says Microsoft, and you can see I have already installed it, so because I use it. So you can just install that and it will work just fine. When we're done with that, I'll just start with a new folder. So I'll just give it a day one. So day one is all about Python. I'll rename it so that I can just keep track of it. I'll just day one Python. Okay. So I'll create a file. So introduction.py. So now, before we write a single line of code, I need to tell you how a Python file is how a Python file works. So you can see this file has an extension of .py, so that indicates this is a Python file. So because it's a Python file, what I'm doing here is I'm selecting an interpreter, which is basically my Python. When you install it, you'll find it. So you can just click it and it's done. You can see my Python version is also 3.14.2, like that. Okay. So whenever you are writing a Python code, it's mandatory for you to have a .py file. Because if it was not a py file and it was at like .txt, .png, .jpeg, and anything else, the Python file won't work. Alright, so I don't have a structured, what do you say, a structured roadmap or curriculum right now, so I'll just follow W3 School. Now, W3 School has had a really good resources, but I'm not going to like go through like the whole thing and read you, but I'm just going to like look into the curriculum what they have. uh, they have syntaxes, statements, outputs, comments, variable, data types, numbers, and things like that. So I'll be going through fast on these types and things so that you can start reading the code, the basic level codes, how to read the code. So as any basic tutorial, I'll just show you how to print something in your console. Now, what is a console? This is a console. Now you might be wondering how in the world I just got this. I clicked Control and tilde. Tilde is basically this icon. It's the key above tab, the key next to one. That's tilde. If you press Control Tab, it goes down, it goes up. Just do it. You should be fine. Okay. I'll go to CD and day one. Okay, because of my naming convention, obviously. I'll rename it to something more easily accessible so that day one. Should I use a bracket? I don't know. Let's try it. CD day one Python. Oh, damn. I shouldn't use like that. I'll rename it. Oh, you know what? I'll just move to Python. Day one should be fine. Yeah. Ah, damn it. Okay. So CD. CD stands for change directory, and directory means folder. And now we're going into the day one, enter, and we're finally there. Clear means clear the terminal, and the terminal, console, everything is same. So I want to print or show some output in this terminal. How do I do that? I write a word called print. I use parentheses, quotation mark, and I'll just say something like print this line. I know Hello World is a standard practice, but we're not doing standard things. Remember, if you're coming from other languages, there is no semicolon is needed. If you put a semicolon, that's a syntax error, so don't do that. Now, to run a Python code, you have two options. You can either write Python introduction.py or whatever you named your file and hit enter, and you can see your output here. Or you can click this nice little button that you can see in VS Code. You click it, and you see it. Yeah. Now, I'm pretty sure you need to install it. So go to extension again and just code runner, maybe code runner. Okay. For some reason, if you don't have that button, just install this and it should work. Mine is working, so yeah, I don't care. So I don't know which one I'll use. I might use interchangeably. So whatever it is, just the thing is your program running or not? Okay, so basically this is how you print anything in the console. Now this is the syntax you use for printing it into the console. We're not going more on this day, so yeah. Alright, now I should move on to data types. Now, what is the data types? Data types are like, okay, I'll just explain it in a different way. So it will I'll just get a whiteboard. If it loads, yeah, it did. Please don't look at my notes because those are kind of weird. I'll use blank, yeah, because I don't have to. I'll just take a pen. Okay, so data types. This is our thing. No, I don't need it. Sorry. Stop with these tutorials. Okay. Think of it like this. We have one glass, two glass, Or did you change a color? Oh, there you go. My bad. Sorry if I'm just being annoying on this art. So imagine you have a glass of whatever that thing is. This is maybe Dr. Pepper. I don't know. This is Mountain Dew. This is plain water. This is something else. Okay, stupid things aside. As you can see, we have one, two, three, four, five containers, and five are different types of containers. So now imagine, like, in this yellowish container, will you put this thing? You will not, because it will mix, and that's not a good thing. Same goes for each of them. We're not going to mix these things or these things together, because these are the different types of containers that contains different type of things. Now, from the containers, we came up with the idea of variables. Sorry for my terrible handwriting. So this is basically variables. Now, those of you are like familiar with the math concepts variables, like we always used to have variables x, y, z. So we had to find x, y, or whatever the case is, whatever type of math or algebra you're doing. So those are the variables. Like we didn't know the value of the variables, and we did lots of calculations, constraints, and relationships, and then finally we had the value of the variable. But here in these variables are basically these containers. Like I have these five containers. You can symbolize them as like five variables. Like I can just say this is variable 1, this is variable 2, and things like that. You can just say this is x, this is y, this is z, this is a, this is b. So these are different types of variables. Now, what type of variables are those? So this x is a variable of this yellow type. The y is a variable of this reddish type. Z is this greenish type. A is this, and B is this. So what I'm trying to say is these variables are different types of variables. So, and each variables are containing different type of things. So now, do you understand that x is not equal to y? So because those types are different. So this is the concept of data types. Those are used in variables, and I could not explain it better without the variable, introducing the variables, because you're storing some kind of values inside the variables and you're just trying to give it a type, what type of variable it is. Now, there might be questions like what types of data types we have, like, or there's a redundancy like what types of data types, but that's not the question. The question is like what are the data types? There are types like integer, which is denoted as int. There are floats, which is basically decimal numbers like 0.04, 6.04, I'm sorry for sticking to 04, but whatever it is, like 7.54, things like that. Every decimal point is a float. Then we have bool, which just means boolean. Boolean basically has two values, true or false, and this is basically triggers the 0 or 1s. So we don't have to go through that logic yet, but the booleans are always just two values which has either true or either false. So that's basically it. And the final value that we have is string or str. This is any kind of string or line, words or things like that. So the line we just print this line is string. This is a data type of string. Now I'll show you the type so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Let's but before that, I need to show you how a variable is declared. So a variable is basically a name of the variable, name of the variable. Then you give it an equal sign and you put a value. Uh, value. Now, this is a valid variable. Why? You can see this is a total valid name of the variable. It goes with the equal sign, and then there is some kind of value. Now, why I use quotation mark? Because when you're using quotation marks, it means that it's a string. Strings are basically what do you say, like words, lines, spaces, special characters, whatever you see in your keyboard and things like that. Now, when did you print it? Here, there's no quotation mark. But why is that? Because when you're writing in the program, you need to denote or like give the instructions that this is a string. But when you're printing it, you are seeing that in the console. You don't need to know it's a string by quotation mark, because you are a human and you know, yeah, it's a string. I can read it. It's a string. So, but does the computer know it's a string? So in order to let the computer know it's a string, you are using that quotation mark. Okay. Now there are a couple of rules that you need to follow for having a variables, but you can just always look those up. But I'll just give you the common ones. Like the way I used here, I used an underscore to give the spaces, because you are not allowed to have spaces in a variable. As you can see, it's already pointing out that it's wrong. Statement must be separated by new lines or semicolons. It's weird that it's saying semicolons, because in Python we don't use semicolons. So don't always take those for literally like what they're saying. If you want to have it joined, you can use either hyphen. Should not work. I don't know if will it work. I don't think so. Without a space, it works. You can keep it like this, or you can put an underscore there. Now for the basic ruling, you don't have to memorize those rules, but you just need to remember some things. Don't start with a number. KGK. Don't start with a number, but you can add with a number, end with a number. Name 2. I'll just give these codes this name of the variable is equal to the syntax. So this is the syntax. So you can use underscore inside the variables, but you cannot use the spaces. No spaces equal to 0. You can see without any spaces, you can just create a like non-spaced a variable name. It's not necessary that you keep that word, keep that letter a big, what do you say it? Capital letter, but you can. It looks nice, but it's a convention. How do you write it? It's called camel case, and this one called snake case. You don't have to remember all this. Also, don't start with 1 2 H. You can start with name 1 is Siam. Name 2 is Liam. Things like that. So these are all valid variable names. Now you might be wondering, what if I use no space and no space? no spaces. Okay. Do you know these are two different variables? Like these spaces with a capital S and the spaces with a smaller s are two separate things. So if you try to print either of those without having those there, it will not work. So you have to be careful how you write your variables. Now let's try to print the variables. This might sound weird, but to print a variable, I'll give you a common convention that will help you. Like always use the f string, so you don't have to like memorize when to use f string, when to not to use f string. Just use it, because when you use the f string, you can use variables inside the f strings using curly braces. So it's easier when you use it. All right. So I'll just say my name is, and I'll inside the curly braces I'll use name1, and the second name is another curly braces I'll use name2. So inside the print statement there is no limit how many variables you can print. You can print thousands of variables, and maybe like you can print until the end of your until the end of the world. You can just print variables inside a print statement. So don't sweat that how many variables you can print there. You can print countless amount of variables. So I'll again just what is this introduction? What? Why? Yeah, okay, I should have just yeah. So you can see how the variables is replacing these curly braces to the actual values. So that's the use of variables. Now, yeah, so now that raises a question, why do I need to use a variable? Like, I could have just wrote that my name is Siam, second name is Liam. I could have just wrote it, like, why do I need a variable to replace those? Okay, so I'll just copy this for a couple of times. Now you see, I'll run it again. Okay, so each of them has the same thing. Now, if I change it here, CM, instead of CM, I'll just say 10. I run it again. Every iteration changed CM into 10. What if I wrote them individually, like my name is Tim and the second name is Ian, and things like that? I just did that. I have to change each value there, name from CM to Tim, CM to Tim, CM to Tim, and that's really bad. Like, you have to remember where you wrote that, where should you change it, and you go there, you change it, and things like that. So the user variable is basically you can change it once, and the change will be reflected in everywhere you use the variables. So that's the main reason why you use a variable, to store the value and use it everywhere. Sorry, that's my terrible drawing. Okay, so we covered how to print something, how to use variables, how do you store variables, and how do you print variables. Okay, and also we learned about data types. So did we cover all the data types? I think we did not, because there is a string I can see, there's an integer, the whole numbers, there's again strings. Let's cover age. Age is also an integer, so 19, 199. Okay, GPA, let's go for 4.0, which is my GPA, by the way, if you didn't know. Sorry for the bragging, but it's still my GPA. Okay, what else? Okay, am I great equal to true? I mean, yeah, I know it sounds weird. I am great. Oh, yeah, I should like, I am great. I am great. True. Yeah. So, this is a boolean. This is a float. This is integer, this is string. Now you can have all the things and you can just print all this in. So my name is name and the second name is this. I'll just go forever. My age is, I'll go for age, and my GPA can you imagine? Then I'll print I am great. I mean, I know it doesn't make any sense, like whatever I'm saying, but it doesn't matter what I'm saying right now because obviously it doesn't matter. So yeah, you can see all of the variable values are reflected here. So you don't have to worry about the print statements when you are just printing values, but uh, what type of value you have and how many types of value you have. You can print all types of values in one single print statement, so you don't have to worry about. Don't forget this F. Without this F, you cannot use this curly braces inside there. So that's pretty much it. Now let's talk about comments, and I'll just end in somewhere after this. Okay, so comments basically means comments. This is a comment. Why? Comment means like you can write small or big notes in your code that you will read and any person that's looking at your code will read, but the computer when it's interpreting the code will not read. Okay, what did I mean by interpreting? I'm not going to get nerdy about what's interpreted, what compiled, and what things like that, but you should know that Python is an interpreted language, which basically means Python just needs the source code, which is basically the code you're writing, and it goes line by line from line 1 to line 10, and it goes line 1 to 10 chronologically, and it goes from there. And you can just, and whenever there's error it stops, so it's working on the runtime basis. So that's basically how Python works. So I can give you a better explanation about how the compiler and interpreter, but just know that Python is an interpreted language. It goes line by line and that's how it's run. Okay, more on this on later videos. So I'll finish on comments today, but so that you can just process it and you can just set up things. And the next video will be more a bit more, and I'll need your feedbacks as well, like how fast it is, how bad it is, like how good it is, and things like that. Okay, so how do you write a comment? Comment is a pretty simple one. Like you just create a pound sign and you just write comments. Like I'll just give comments to each line. You can have inline comments or you can just have other type of comments like this. Okay, I'll just say this is how you write a code. Write a variable, my bad. Variable. I'll write a comment here. Syntax. String type. This is integer. This is float. And this is boolean. And I'll say printing the values, and that should be it. That's how the comment works. You can just have single line comments or multi-line comments like, hi, this is a multi-line comment, bye. I mean, I haven't done the comment yet because I can select it and use control and slash, and I'm pretty sure that's not how you do it. But anyways, there's this shortcut from VS Code that you can use multi-line comments, or you can use like this, 3 curly braces, and I'll just put it here. This is a multi-line comment as well, so you can use it like this as well, so if that helps. So this is where I'll end it today, because it's already night. You can see it's 1:31 a.m. So I'll just finish it today, and we'll get into more details tomorrow. We have to do stuff like, we have to learn stuff like functions, how things work like that. We have to know how object-oriented programming work in a basics level, because I don't want you to bore with the more concepts like polymorphisms or things like that. You don't really need to understand it. I'll explain it if you need it, but this is the basic thing you get to start with. This, the next videos will start with the user inputs and things like that, but this is the first video, like just getting the hang of it, like look if your Python is working and things like that. I know this is a really short one, the next videos won't be short like this. This is just a demo. I hope you like it. If you do, follow my Facebook page. There will be updates. Subscribe to my channel. Put a comment. I am really looking forward to your feedbacks, and I hope to continue this series if I get enough motivation from you guys. All right. Have a good night. Ciao. Oh, wrong tab.